I am sure you wonder what is the approval or denial rate for green cards like EB2 NIW or EB1A. In this video, we go over the most updated data. Hi, my name is Oscar and I'm a scientist, not a lawyer. In this channel, we talk about green cards like EB2 NIW or EB1A in which you can self-petition. This means that you don't need to have a job offer, a company sponsoring you, and also you can do it without a lawyer, saving a lot of money. So today we're going to focus about a specific topic that everyone cares about, which is the official statistics on approval or denial rates for these types of green cards where you can apply on your own just because of your merits and not because of a job offer. So in the past, we have seen in many instances, every quarter we do this update video where we look at the official data from USCIS. The agency publishes approval and denial data. They don't publish it in the best way possible, but we will use a simple formula to come up with the percentages that you all want to hear about. And we are going to also see the most updated data from the last quarter, January, February, and March from 2024. This is quarter 2. Remember that USCIS has a different system than everyone else. Our years go from January to December. Their fiscal years go from October to September. So that's why January to March is quarter 2, okay? Which for us, it will be quarter 1 of the year. All right, so we're going to see those most updated numbers. We're going to see the historical numbers that went before the quarter 2 of fiscal year 2024. And we're going to see the top 10 approvals by country. What are the countries that are providing more approvals to the pool of the overall approvals in EB2 NIW and EB1A, and how they change, which countries are getting better, which countries are losing a little bit. This is just anecdotal. It doesn't mean that if you are from one of those countries, you are going to win more or have better chance or whatever. Remember that is all about your specific case, okay? But I think it's a little bit fun to look at that. If you want to look at our previous video where we discussed approval rates for fiscal year 2024 quarter 1, we have that video that you can go and watch, of course, but today we're going to see those numbers and a little bit more, okay? So first of all, the official USCIS data. This is the table that they provide. You can go to the URL that I will leave in the comment section below, and you can click on it and you can download the data and you can do whatever you want with it. You don't really have to. You can stop watching here if you want, and you can do your own analysis, and that's fine. You will see that they provide a table with EB1 and EB2 and EB3. We're going to focus on EB1A and EB2 NIW. And because they only give the numbers in terms of received cases, approved cases, denied, and pending, we are going to do a little bit of math, very simple math, to come up with the approval and denial rate. So what we do is we define approval rate or percentage of approvals by dividing the number of approved cases by the sum of approved and denied cases. And then we multiply times 100 to have percentage. It's not going to be 100% accurate, but it's going to get really, really, really close. And in fact, from time to time, USCIS do publish real percentage numbers, and they do match really, really closely, okay? So that means that this estimate is a good estimate. So here we have the trend from the beginning of fiscal year 2022 to today, but for now I'm covering the latest data point, and I just want to recap. In green, we have the EB2 NIW approval rate per quarter, and then in blue, we have EB1A. And historically, we have seen how there was a difference. Obviously, EB1A is a harder, let's say, higher standard to meet than EB2 NIW. So the approval rate was historically lower. Here we see that it was about in the 70s, 70% for EB1A. In fact, I have the average in front of me for this time period. It was 74% for EB1A, and the average for EB2 NIW was 86%. Okay, so there was always a gap, which again makes sense because EB2 NIW is here in terms of standard, and EB1A you need to be here. So you need a lot more profile building, a lot more credentials to show to the USCIS officer if you want to get approved. So it makes sense that in terms of approval rates, EB1A will always be lower. However, that gap started to narrow down in fiscal year 2023, and it really closed recently in 2020, end of 2023, 2024. We saw how for one quarter, actually, they met each other. They were the same. And in my latest update from quarter one, I was saying that finally the gap was starting to appear again, to happen again, which in my opinion is, okay, we're going back to normal. What it was not normal is that EB2 NIW approval rates fell this much to meet EB1A. So let's see what happens with quarter two. Let's uncover that data point. And what we see is that now we do see that that trend is confirmed. We have now a gap between EB1A and EB2 NIW. But again, looking at historical numbers, this gap is still very narrow. We are still not seeing the gap we were seeing back here of many points of difference. Now we are seeing a gap that is of 5 percentage points only. Okay, so this is a really narrow gap, and really it's hard to explain if we, at least for the people that know very well these two categories, that see a lot of cases. I commented in my recent videos that I have reviewed more than 100 cases in EB2 NIW mostly, but a lot also in EB1A. And I can tell you that EB1A is definitely a harder category. So it doesn't make a lot of sense that we only see 5 percentage points of difference in approval rates between EB2 NIW and EB1A. The way I explain this is, well, there's a lot of attention now in EB2 NIW. A lot of people are hopeful that they will be able to get this green card, this permanent residency for them and their families through this EB2 NIW. EB1A maybe is a little bit too much for many people to meet. So they are jumping in. There's a lot of YouTubers out there. I'm one of them, promoting this kind of route into the United States, a legal way of coming to the United States. And it is possible that many of them are submitting cases that are subpar, that are really not cases that are either well crafted, petitions that are not well put together. And I'm talking from lawyers and from do-it-yourselfers, okay? Because I also see many lawyers doing really bad stuff. So cases that are not properly prepared, but also cases from people that do not have the right profile for EB2 NIW yet, and they still want to take a chance and they submit the petition gets denied, the approval rate, as we see on the screen, goes down compared to the historical numbers, okay? So let's take a look at the other side of the equation, which is, what is the demand so far? Because last week we were talking about the visa bulletin, but remember that the visa bulletin can be explained from the point of view of the quota system that the US has for the green cards. They issue 140,000 employment-based green cards per year. And it's always interesting to see not only the approval rates, but in terms of what's going to happen with the visa bulletin moving forward, the demand can be a good indicator to give us a good sense of where we are. So what we had seen until quarter one is that the demand exploded for EB2 NIW. We see it clearly here, going from less than 4,000 cases submitted every quarter to now we are at 10,000. And EB1A also suffered a really good increase. Of course, the absolute numbers are lower because, like I said, it's a harder category, so it's always going to remain lower than EB2 NIW. So let's see what happens now if we add the quarter two data point. What we see is that things haven't really moved. Demand is still very strong. We see numbers that exceed 10,000 petitions, I-140 petitions received each quarter. There's no significant change up or down, if anything, slight increase. So we should expect that the visa bulletin, if all the other employment-based categories remain in this way, like these two subcategories, if that's true for the rest, we're going to see still the same trends in the visa bulletin. And really, we are not seeing that things will get magically faster because a lot of people are still submitting. I'm very curious to know what's going to happen with the demand after April 1st. If you remember, in April 1st, USCIS increased fees for a lot of processes, including our EB2 NIW and EB1A, and fees really increased significantly. If you could file an I-140 for $700 until April 1st, now you will have to pay more than $1,000. Not to mention the adjustment of status if you're in the US. That second part of the process, if you are already in the country, will cost you way more than before. So I'm curious to know what's going to happen beyond April. Will we see an impact in the demand based on the higher prices, or people will continue to submit a lot of petitions no matter what the cost is for their pockets? So we're going to see about that. But now, before we get into the top 10 list of countries by approvals, let's take a look at my websites, because if you are serious about EB2 NIW or EB1A, I have these two websites where you can find a lot of resources for do-it-yourself petitioners like you. You have posts, you have my sample petitions, you have information about services that I offer, and one of the things that I really recommend is my online courses. Here on the screen, I'm showing you the EB2 NIW course curriculum. I have 10 modules with over 50 video lectures, more than 7 hours of exclusive video content that you cannot find here in YouTube, where I go step by step in a very detailed way on how to craft your petition, how to put together your cover letter, your recommendation letters, your professional or business plan, everything you really need. And you can submit questions in each lecture. And once a month in EB2 NIW online course, we meet face-to-face in a live session where you can ask me questions directly and we can meet each other, which is something that I really love. But let's continue with the top 10 of countries. So this is the table for EB1A, then we're going to see EB2 NIW, and what we see is in this quarter, quarter 2 of fiscal year 2024, China was the number 1 country by number of approvals. China, India, Brazil, and Russia were the first 4 also in the previous quarter, so they remain there. And Nigeria goes up from number 10 to number 5, doubling the number of approvals, almost doubling the number of approvals. So that's Nigeria right here. I don't know what happened in Nigeria, but a lot more people getting approvals for EB1A. Congratulations to them. But it's important to see how China and India really are taking more than half of the approvals for a single quarter. And that also justifies why in the visa bulletin they are always the countries with more backlogs. They are also very populated countries, a lot of interest there from immigrants to come to the US. Not surprisingly, they suffer a lot from the point of view of delays. In EB2 NIW, now we are seeing that China and India are also in the number 1 and 2. China actually increased almost 150 approvals with respect to the previous quarters. It was already number 1 in the previous quarter. Brazil lost about 150 approvals and goes from number 2 to number 3. And India increased 200 approvals from the previous quarter and goes from number 4 to number 2. Iran goes from 3, it was on the number 3, it goes down to 5, and it lost about 100 approvals with respect to the previous quarter. And Nigeria moved from number 5 to number 4. So very good quarter from our Nigerian friends who really did very well in EB1, and now they also do pretty well in EB2 NIW. If you are from Nigeria, let me know. Why do you think that is? Is there anything happening in your country that sparked the interest in these 2 types of categories from last quarter to this quarter? Probably not. I mean, these things move a little bit in a basically fluctuating, but it's always interesting, more anecdotal than anything to see. Also, be careful. It doesn't mean, again, if you are from Nigeria, that all is well for you and you can do anything with your petition and you will be approved. That's not the case. It probably has to do with the number of people also applying. Maybe more attention to that category for some reason. Maybe there's an influencer from Nigeria doing this kind of work. I don't know. But let me know, what do you think? Are you surprised by the list of countries here? I didn't comment on that, but other than Brazil, we have Colombia and Venezuela. They are always there in the top 10, doing pretty well. Also in EB1, we had Venezuela in number 10. So before we go, I wanted to reiterate something that I say in all of these videos that I make. These approvals or approval rates are not your probability of success, because each case is unique and your success depends really on your profile, how good your profile is. Depending on EB1 or EB2, you can have a better or quote unquote worse profile, but your credentials will play an important role. If you are in EB2 NIW, your proposed endeavor, how you write it, how you explain the national importance of it will be really, really, really critical. And then in general, the quality of your petition package, And for those things, I really encourage you to check out our online courses, because you will learn little tricks that will help you on how to write each chapter, how to really put forward the best case for yourself. And then we have factors that are beyond your control. For example, the officer that receives and reviews your case. Because in USCIS, I always say that they're also human, and there will be one person that will be dedicated to your evaluation. If that person is more strict or less strict, that will also play a role. I mean, it sucks to say this, but it is the truth. You know that I don't like to sugarcoat things. That is the truth. There's a lot you can do to have a solid case for yourself, but you should never rule out the human factor. Who is the officer reviewing your case? What do you think? Is there anything else that you can think that will impact your chance of success in this type of processes? Let me know in the comments below. I always like to read your comments and also your questions. And as usual, good luck in your green card journey. And I will see you here next week with more information.